She doesn't feel like she has agency over her emotions because someone else is helping her regulate them. I think a man is there to help you regulate those emotions, but he's not there to, say, hey, look, when this happens, you shouldn't raise your voice or you shouldn't, go off like Saida said. Her husband didn't have to say anything. He just put his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if she didn't have regulations of her emotions, she would have pushed his hand, disciplined the child. Then there would have been a scene at the pool. Then they would have went back to the house. It would have still probably been dragged out from there because you're not learning how to control your emotions. But when you're with someone who can kindly do a gesture and you get the point and you don't have to raise your voice at them or say, what are you doing? You know that you're able to work in unison. If your man is able to just do a gesture and you straighten up, that's what he wants. He doesn't want someone that's going to come back and combat him and that's going to say, well, what are you talking about? Who's going to challenge his authority? Because all control is saying, I got this. You don't have to worry about it. But you keep worrying about it. So now you're making me feel like, you don't trust that I got this.
Right.
So I wanted to say something, and I think where the misunderstanding is, I think is the difference between a man that is in control, which I agree with you on the first place, Mr. Legault, when you said a man is in control. I agree with that. But a man that is in control versus a controlling man is different. So the way that you said it, I heard, or the way that I understood when you said it at first, is that a man had to control a woman to get her into marriage. You have to have certain control over her to get her into marriage, like telling her what to do, how to behave in certain things. So that's kind of how I took it. It's like, if you don't like the behavior of this woman, why are you even with her?
So
Why
let
are
me
you
say
trying
this.
to get her?
Okay,
Well,
hold on, Paris.
let me hold on. Let me
Let me
finish
just
this.
say one thing before Paris starts.
Never
I mean,
let me finish.
You're right, Saida, and you should have been able to finish. That's very unfortunate.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I've
Go
heard
ahead.
before, like, men trying to say, I don't like the way she dresses, or I don't want my woman to dress in a certain way. But you still go out with this woman at first without telling her in a nice way that her style is not something that you actually like. There's ways to let a woman know, and then if she's really like you, she will actually want to change her, clothing or wardrobe for you. But if she doesn't, if she thinks and she takes it as you're trying to control her, then she's an immature woman because she doesn't
Well,
accept criticism in a not, she doesn't take it the right way. But I'm
well, this
saying
is
that's
the
the difference
problem,
between
though.
having control and controlling somebody, or
This
trying
is
to
this
control
is the
somebody.
problem. Women, and this is for the audience also. It's very important for women to be aware of how often they interpret words instead of hearing words. And this ain't about you. This is about the audience, because women just do this, because you just made that declaration right there. Women hear a word control and hear controlling man, right? So altogether, we have to be open to other interpretations and not just ours, and just hear the person out. Because I always say women don't listen, they interpret. And the reason why women tend to interpret so much is because they have this addiction to certainty. So they need to know, hold on, what do you mean by that? Instead of just hearing it, you're afraid of what a person might say that, might be crazy, instead of just hearing the person. Go ahead, Paris.
So this is the only reason why I'm giving pushback to this, right? Because if we had not been talking about this word like right now in this particular sector, I would actually be on the women's side. The reason why I'm not on your side is because the actual definition of control is the power of influence. So even when Mr. Lego mentioned like women wanting to control or the need to control their man, Sayeda brought up a good point again. You talked about clothes. But what we also see is that a lot of times, especially in the stay-at-home woman aspect, the woman is taking care of her man wardrobe. We get a lot of times when women are quote unquote upgrading their man, right? The issue becomes a situation where it's a woman being told, you look slutty, you look trashy, and you thought he was attracted to it, and so he's asking you to make this compromise, and you're like, no, you like this at first, you're not open to the change. But again, we see all the time where it's a common norm for women to dress their man, and there's no problem with that. But that is an influence, right? I influence how you look. I influence you dressing. You see even now, like the whole little travel trips, right? The women are basically getting their husbands to color code match with them. Or back in the 90s, I remember when they used to have a little jean jumpsuits together, like that was like, you know, women picking it out for their man to look like their man. You know, it's just like very much so a common thing where couples look like each other and the woman has the influence, right? So when you're talking about the word control, again, it's a negative connotation that's being perceived here, because in actuality, the type of woman that I am, very much so traditional minded, I do want a controlling man. I want him to have dominance over me. I want to have dominion over me. I want him to be able to be a leader. I want him to be able to provide guidance. I want him to be able to influence me. That's the only way the relationship is going to work. All of those things are synonyms. All of those things we look at as positives in a relationship. The word itself has a negative connotation because people have taken it, they beaten it down, and they made it to where it no longer fits the description of what relationships should be, but you're literally applying those applications all the time. For me, rather, right, I also want to have influence over my man. Because why is he the smartest person, and why is he the only person with input on things? He needs to be able to see life from a different perspective. That's the only way we're going to be able to elevate. And I just saw this woman who was a stay-at-home mom, and she was like, the way that she was able to get to her status was by investing into her man. Is that not influence?
Can I
So
want
you're
to
using the noun version and not the verb version of it. So you have to understand that when you say you want a controlling man, you're saying that you want him to determine your behavior, and she's telling you that she does not want a man like
regulate.
But
Not
I'm
determine.
saying I do, because the noun version will also correlate. Like verb is action, babe, right? But
exactly.
before you get to,
so you have to be actively controlling their behavior, right?
But you have to actively being influencing somebody's behavior as well, right? So regardless of you have to apply both, right? All of these things are still
no.
Yes,
that's the point. That's the point that she is trying to make, that you do not have to apply both. That's the point.
Yes, you do. You actually do. If you're talking about control, if you're talking about the dynamic of control, you're saying, hey, I want this type of man. I want somebody who's going to honor me, who's going to protect me, who's going to this. If you're saying yourself, you want a man who to protect you, you are controlling. Because now you're saying the verbiage of it, the verb portion of it, the action is you want to influence him to be aggressive on command.
No.
Let me say this. Fanny say,
she said want to protect you. You couldn't even wait. No, let us have this conversation, please, sir.
Hold up.
Can you give us a second? Okay. So I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you believe that that's okay. I'm just explaining to you that not everyone believes that. So I do not believe that anyone is actively in control of anyone except for themselves. People feel like they have control over people's behaviors. People also believe they have control over their children's behaviors. However, they show you every day that you cannot control their behaviors. So you can use the noun version if you would like. However, you actively having control over another person, impossible. Stop looking for it. It's not out there. It's not.
Let me
and
give you
all these men that are top tier, high level, they can't find that either. So it's not you. It just doesn't exist.